Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of 1 Million Cups. My name is Nicholas Stamper, and I will be hosting today's presentation. First, I'm going to talk for a few minutes about 1 Million Cups Chico, its mission, and the second thing will be the actual 6-minute presentation given to us by our special guest. And third, we will cover Q&A for our audience. And then shortly after that, we will wrap up. 1 Million Cups was created by the Kauffman Foundation. The purpose of this foundation works alongside educators, researchers, and other partners to better understand and improve the environment in which entrepreneurs start and grow business. 1 Million Cups is a free weekly program to educate, engage, and connect local entrepreneurs. It's an environment where you get to be able to sit down and have different conversations with different entrepreneurs. The overall mission behind 1 Million Cups is to, again, not only lower the barrier of access to education and resources for all entrepreneurs, but to be surrounded by a community and an environment that helps you build ideas and get feedback for your businesses. In the beginning, 1 Million Cups started off small in Kansas City, but then by July 2022, it had grown to 131 communities. So just imagine how many there are now by this point. Moving forward at each location, there are presentations each week. Today, we have Sierra Schmidt with the local organization Home&Heart. She'll have 6 minutes to present and then 15 to 20 of Q&A. If you want to know more about 1 Million Cups or how to present here, please feel free to join our amazing community online and visit our platform at www.1millioncups.com/Chico. All right, and further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Sierra. You load your slides up.
All righty.
All right, round of applause for Sierra.
Well, thank you for having me here this morning. I'm really excited to get to share our work with you guys today. So my name is Sierra Schmidt, and I am a co-founder and current program manager of Home&Heart, which is Butte County's home share. So we'll just jump into what is home sharing? Home sharing is a very simple idea of two unrelated people sharing the same dwelling. So in our program, we call those that are seeking a housemate home providers, and those that are seeking a home seekers. That's a picture of one of our matches. So a bit about our history, our roots. Home sharing can look so many different ways, but our mission is to expand affordable housing options here in Butte County, assist older adults to age safely in their own home, all the while decreasing social isolation throughout the process. So a bit about our history and roots is this actually started off as an internship project for myself and another student when we were master's students in the social work program. We had a professor hit us up with this idea she came across about home sharing and had sent us to Humboldt County to go visit one of their programs. So when we shadowed their program, we learned what they were doing was a hybrid model. They were pretty much educating their community about the idea of home sharing and then referring people to an online third-party platform. We saw a lot of barriers with that model. First of all, we know a lot of older adults are not online, and the ones that are report a lot of distrust with online users. And so we came back to Chico and we did a lot of research to figure out what would be the best practice here. We ended up finding a program in Vermont that has successfully implemented an in-person model for over 40 years. We bought their how-to book for $100 and got started. And that was in the summer of 2018. By the fall of 2018, we had this idea on paper and the campfire hit. And so what happened is it created opportunities for innovative housing solutions, and the city of Chico became our first funders. We were able to launch the program in 2019, making our first match. And by 2020, we are able to gain our own nonprofit status. So I'd love to share with you about the benefits of home sharing. We know that on the individual side of things, that home sharing increases older adults' ability to age safely in place. One story comes to mind when I think about that, and we had a home seeker who was in his 70s living in his car, and a home provider that was in his 90s up in Magalia. We introduced the two. They got along really well. We're housemates for over a year at this point, and home provider had a pretty nasty fall. Home seeker was there to not catch the fall, but call for help right away. And it turned out that the home provider actually had a blood clot in his brain, and had not the home provider been in our program and home seeker been with him, I mean, he would have passed in his home alone with no family around. So we know that when home sharing is done right, it actually increases safety. It also increases stable housing for both parties. I think we typically think of this increasing housing for home seekers, but we have a lot of older adults that if they weren't renting out their extra bedroom, they're on a fixed income and they wouldn't be able to make their mortgage. So it increases housing for them as well. By both of that, they're sharing costs, they're sharing housing, and so they are increasing their financial security at least a bit, and meanwhile decreasing the loneliness by co-sharing a home. We know that research shows that the health risks of prolonged isolation is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. We also know that 1/4 of the American older adult population is experiencing isolation, and we know that number is higher in rural counties like ours. So anything to get people together and decrease their isolation. It also increased over COVID, as that was true for everybody, right? On the macro side of things, we know that home sharing increases housing stock. The housing is here. We don't have to build it with a single nail, right? The Butte County Housing Authority has reported that the largest source of housing stock in Butte County is extra bedrooms in people's homes. So let's utilize them. We know that by sharing housing, it reduces emergency medical costs by less ER visits. And it also practices this mutual aid framework within our community. We know it's a win-win for both parties. Each have something to offer the other. And I also think that with the evolution of society, we're losing touch with the value of taking care of our elders. And I think this program highlights that. So there's 3 different options that home providers get to choose from in our program. The first is just a traditional rental agreement. People that choose this agreement are those people that are self-sufficient, but are needing extra income to just support their own mortgage. And what's unique to home sharing programs is the service exchange component. So that's when people seeking housing, they provide all custodial care, hands-off caregiving services in exchange for all of the rent. And in the last option, we have a mixed arrangement where the home seeker is paying some rent, but that rent is supplemented by help out around the house. So this is a bit about our process, how it all works, how we make it happen. We'll get an application in and schedule an intake interview with them. In the intake interview, we're really learning about who they are, what their lifestyle preferences are, and what they're looking for in a housemate. After that meeting, we'll run background checks and call references. That's our vetting process. So once we've jumped through those hoops, we'll start looking through our database and figuring out who's compatible with whom. And once we found a compatible match, we'll go ahead and set up what we call a meet and greet. And that is when a staff member will come and facilitate the introduction meeting. It's really up to these 2 people to spend as much time as they need together before they decide like, hey, this might work. But once they get to that point, we're like, you guys should do a trial match first. And what that looks like is getting together and filling out what we call the living together agreements. It's a really unique lease that captures the expectations of the match. And after the first 2 weeks, we come back together as a team. We talk about trials and successes. And if it's a good match, we sign the lease after the first 2 weeks. That way nobody's locked into something that might not work. So after they've been matched, a staff member is providing ongoing case management and support. We're able to provide conflict resolution and mediation if needed. There we go. So I was actually able to present to this group about 3 years ago. And in those 3 years, we have a lot of cool milestones to share with you. Since 2020, that 17 number is a bit low. It's now at 19. So we've made 19 matches, stably housing 38 folks. 5 of those matches have celebrated what we call a match anniversary, which is when they've been matched for 1 year. And we definitely celebrate that, right? And we know that not everyone that applies for this program is appropriate. And so we're often doing case management, connecting with other service providers, and referring other folks to different housing services. Over COVID, we were able to actually create a California chapter of home sharing. There's 18 other home sharing programs within the state only. And we get together on Zoom quite regularly to talk about best practices and policies and to support one another through the work. Super stoked to let you guys know that we are hiring for another full-time staff member. This person will be primarily focused on outreach, and we're holding interviews this week. So that's happening. And I'm so stoked to get a helper. And we also got some funding to pilot a new recovery home share program, which I'm going to talk more in the next slide about. So we've actually hired an independent contractor who's been in this room before. Her name is Lauren Kennedy, and she's amazing. And it's been her job to kind of put this together. The goal is to get 150 volunteers onboarded to temporarily host the next displaced group of people from the next disaster we have. And so we are currently in the second box of this. We're creating our program design policies and an application material process. And that's come with a lot of back work on research in what works best in these situations. So moving forward, what we prioritize is always learning from our community and our clients, what their needs are and how we can adjust to best meet those needs. We constantly want to expand our partnerships and outreach. One big barrier we have is reaching older adults that are isolated and home all day and not driving and therefore not utilizing social services. How the heck are they going to hear about us? And increasing staff, volunteers, and budget. Another barrier we find is typically funding that's available will not permit for staff salary. So it's super easy for us to get money to get like a computer, but not another staff. And we need staff, not more computers. And that would allow us to expand our services that are much needed: transportation, social activities, and home support repairs. And then lastly, we always want to share our work with new orgs that are starting. I remember when I first started out on this, I was the person calling all of the home share groups and picking their brains. And now I'm really happy to be the one they're calling. Yeah, so it's fun to kind of step forward in that way. So yeah, we want to get more into consulting as we go on. And the last slide is just our contact. So if you have any questions, and if you have any questions about the recovery program, I would highly recommend you shoot those over to Lauren. I don't know a lot of the specifics, so if any questions come up there, I might refer you back to Lauren on that last email.
Perfect. Give a hand for Sierra.
What a big problem you're solving. I mean, it's really awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of two problems in one solution. And again, we recognize that the problem is so big that we can't be the only solution.
Yeah. So tell me more, because that was the first thing I put down in my notes was outreach. Like, tell us more, if you can, about what your outreach campaign is going to be. Like, how is that?
Sure. So what we've
is that media? Do you have commercials? Do you know, those types of?
Yeah. So what outreach has looked like for us in the past is presentations and all social services that will invite us. So we've done a lot of presentations to community groups around town.
Yeah. I'm sure.
We have a volunteer that's been with us for like the past 3 months that has been primarily focused on social media. So she's been able to grow our audience like over 130%, which is nice. And that was probably quite easy to happen because we are not active on social media much before.
Yeah.
One thing is just having a staff of 1.6 is really, really hard to hold all the clients and all of their needs and do continuous outreach.
Yep.
And you're just out of capacity for that. So we're super stoked to be hiring this new person who's going to be coming up with a whole strategy and plan that we'll be working with them on, but I mean, that's their job. So yeah, we would love to do a commercial. I don't think we have enough funding for that because we would have looked into the cost and it's quite expensive. But yeah, we would love to get enough funding to do a commercial because I think that's how we're going to reach those older people that are at home.
Have you tried radio?
Yeah, we've been on a few different radio shows and I think it's important to continuously be on them.
I mean, it might be cheaper in TV.
Yeah.
Even if you could coordinate, I mean, if the new person's coming in, I don't know if they're PR savvy or whoever you're hiring, but I mean, have you talked to Action News now, even to get on a segment?
We've been on just like, so Action News, it always works like this. They'll call me and they'll be like, hey, you ready to be on camera in half an hour? I'm like, are you kidding? I haven't showered yet, dude. I'm like, nervous, So like that's always been my experience with TV is that I have 30 minutes to be there. And it is. And so but when we've hit them up, like, hey, Action News, can you do a segment on us? They've had us back up with like, okay, that's going to cost you thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's almost like with Action News, we have to have something for them to want to take for free. And we do have that coming up with our new disaster program. And so we're kind of working out the nuts and bolts there before we do the outreach piece.
Yeah, I didn't know if there's some sort of media partnership you could coordinate with them.
Yeah, I would love to, if you have any ends.
Well, I mean, working with the chamber and with us, like for Grow Tech Fest, they're like a media partner. So we put their logo up and, and that's event based. So that was my next question, fundraising.
Mhm.
We can talk about the other stuff. I mean, I can talk to you about that, but
Yeah.
What about open grants, maybe?
yeah, I think Eva's
Yeah.
probably talked to you about open grants already. And has she talked to you?
No, open
Oh,
grants.
okay, well, we'll talk to you about.
Okay, yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Well, fundraising, so
Yeah.
we have actually a really cool fundraiser coming up that's gonna be partnered with other nonprofits in town. So it's
Okay.
gonna be like a softball fundraiser.
Oh,
Yeah, and so we're gonna have different organizations competing against each other in a tournament.
okay.
Yeah.
We're a nonprofit.
Right?
Cornhole. No.
No.
But it's been in and out that we might be looking to replace is actually the Butte Humane Society. So if they pulled out last year and then we pushed it back another year. So I'm not sure. We have our first meeting about it today, our first new meeting, because we tried to do this last year and it wasn't a good time.
Right.
And so now we're restarting today.
So at the very
Yeah,
least,
sure.
you could get the media entities and.
Definitely, media will definitely be there.
Right, at least
It's
at some sort of.
Shelter, chat,
Yeah.
humane and us. So they're big names.
Talk to them about that.
Yeah.
And then they can maybe do a little 30-second thing. I mean, it'll be about the event, but at least it'll give you some publicity
Yeah,
that you're out there. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So,
totally. Yeah, we're looking for that publicity.
okay.
Have you thought about reaching out to elderly homes? I mean, as an alternative, before they get in the home or.
Yeah, we definitely have our brochures that like assisted living places and have connections with.
Those are expensive, right? I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, exactly.
Like you keep their home.
The biggest issue you'll find is there's so many people that make just enough money where they don't qualify for Medi-Cal. And so that means they don't qualify for in-home support services.
Yeah,
Meaning that they have to pay out of pocket for care, or, I mean, the expense of going into one of those facilities can, $5,000 a month, and that's a low ball number.
oh yeah, wow.
So it's absolutely insane. I don't know how anyone could afford it. Yeah, and it's really sad because these people they've worked and they've had all this money and then they have to spend it all for the end of life.
Wow.
Are you connected with any of the chambers of commerce?
No.
Be
No,
something to think about.
yeah, I think they would be good for publicity as well.
Definitely.
Is there any way, because you were talking about how you would you need extra help around, is there any way you could use students as interns?
Yeah, and we do. And I would love to have a student intern that's in communications or, because we've primarily had sociology and social work interns helping with case management, but having a social work or an intern that's focused on just like media and entrepreneurship, really, those sort of things, I think would be really beneficial to us.
I know personally, every communication major needs to have an internship before they graduate. So I mean, if you were to reach out to just that group, just them, you would definitely get some responses.
Nice. Okay. I feel like I should be writing these notes.
Besides lots of words there, but
We'll
yeah.
send you this recording.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. I'll have it on
And you can
recording.
share this on your.
Mhm.
social media.
Yeah.
I'll email you just a copy of the video once I trim it down.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's really not a lot to edit either.
And we'll be putting this back out through our channels as well. through our
Awesome.
mail channels.
Yeah. So this alone is more publicity.
Yeah. Do you guys do a newsletter?
We do once a
Okay.
year. We do a newsletter once a year.
Okay, like an annual report kind of thing.
Yeah, and we have we have our fundraiser towards the end of the year where we do our donor campaign.
Okay.
And that goes with our donor campaign along with t-shirts.
Okay.
One question I had was, you're saying that there's a person facilitating when they first meet, and then 2 weeks as well. Is that they're with them the whole 2 weeks, day and night, or?
Oh, no, they just go for the initial meeting.
Okay,
And then these two people live together alone for those
Okay.
weeks.
and then
And then, after those weeks, the staff member comes back in the hall
Gotcha.
for the meeting.
are you the one that does that the whole time? Because you
Yeah.
think it's mostly you. Okay. It's really-
Yeah, so my job is everything program related, from the first inquiry, email or call to transitioning people out of a match.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff that goes in that. And then we have an executive director that's at 0.6, and she's all things admin.
How many times has it been where you're there facilitating and it's just these guys won't live together, it's not a good match?
Yeah, I would say that 1 out of 3 introductions would turn into a match. So definitely not every introduction. And that makes sense too, right? Because somebody might be compatible with 3 people and they want to meet all 3 people and explore all 3 options before deciding. And so when we're introducing people, we're definitely not saying, don't make a decision today.
Yeah.
Here's somebody that you get to start like exploring with and start building relationship with.
Gotcha.
So once they move in, it's kind of the same. They pay for their food and, or how is that? Is there?
Sure, well, we talk about it in the lease
Together.
agreement. Some matches have food shared and some matches
Okay.
have food separate.
Okay.
And then that's documented
Okay.
and like really spelled out. Like, so if they are sharing food, who's gonna replace what when? So that
Right,
it's
like
not
who's
like
responsible.
confusion, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say most matches keep food separate.
Yeah.
Or have this like arrangement where one person will cook and share meals, the other person cooks their food and share meals.
Okay.
So that's all that happens often.
I mean, go ahead. Are there specific guidelines for like when they're sharing a space with someone else? Like, are there sobriety guidelines, things like that?
We don't drug test. If somebody wants to drug test, that would be up to the home provider. Like as an organization, we would never. But as you know, a social worker in the assessment, we're looking more for behaviors rather than diagnoses, right? And we haven't, oh, that's not true. We have had a substance abuse issue come up. Thankfully, it was calmed quickly and wasn't a big issue at the end of the day. But substance abuse, I mean, we're working with the public, people are using substances, that happens. And so no, it goes more like this. It's based on people's preferences. Obviously, we're not like, are you comfortable with this person using meth? No, but it's more like, are you, you know? And so a lot of older adults are 420 friendly, and so we're checking for marijuana and alcohol. And you know, according to our lawyer, is actually don't ask about substances because liability for us, or the less we know, the better.
Right.
Okay.
But with on the same coin of that, I really need to be mindful because what happens is people do feel really comfortable in the meetings and they will share with me, you know, and so then I know this information and have to act responsibly on it. So, yeah.
So what are your pain points right now, or what?
The pain points.
Yeah, what do you need? Obviously, staff is one of them. but-
Yeah, that is it. That's
That
the
we can
biggest
help you
one
with,
is staff. And thankfully that pain point is somewhat calming with the new staff member coming on, hopefully as soon as next week, because we're
Awesome.
making the decision Friday.
Good.
Yeah. So hopefully maybe Monday we'll have our new staff member. And just like funding opportunities that allow for staff member, that's the big issue, right? Is just these funding opportunities with stringent guidelines on how we can spend those funds.
Yeah.
I think home sharing is unique in the sense that it doesn't fit all like grants that are for affordable housing. It's a really unique niche.
Okay.
And so like we don't fit into like shelter funding, right? So finding unique, so what I think is a really great idea and something that we're starting with the California chapter of home sharing is getting our data reporting, our surveys all the same, so that we're collecting the same data, so that we can combine our collective data and then present it to the state for state or federal funding specific to home sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a long-term goal we have.
Okay. Like I said, we'll connect you to our open grants portal.
Okay, thank you.
About that too.
Yeah.
Are you in VOAD, at least for this new entity that you're with the disaster support?
Oh, what do you mean by vote?
Volunteer organizations assisting with disasters.
Oh,
We got, I was part of we were delivering food and propane to snowbound senior, well, anybody up in Magalia and everything. So and that in the rich communities, and we were just kind of based out of the church there. They had they were gathering food and everything.
yeah, I would have to ask Lauren if we're on that list. I would be surprised if we weren't, but I want to be on it if we're not. So
Yeah,
VOAD.
So VOAD, yeah, VOAD.
Okay,
I don't know if that, I've just heard about it in relation to these things, food delivery.
yeah, no, that's a great list for us to be on for that program, and I'll run it by Lauren if we're not already on it.
Just to repeat, that you are representing Butte County. Okay.
Yeah, but we do take on people out like on the outskirts.
Okay.
So like right now I have clients out in Los Molinos, Orland,
I was gonna say.
And Red Block. but I really struggle to match those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a home provider out in Los
Interesting.
Molinos check this out, they're offering a free, not free, but for service exchange. A 3-bedroom home that's right next door to their home on an old dairy orchard or farm, has an old dairy silo even, and an ATV you could ride around the orchard.
Getting the word.
And I haven't been able to find the right match for everyone here.
Wow,
I know.
like you've
Wild, right?
constantly gone, have them meet someone and they're like, not for me.
And no, I don't introduce a lot of people to them because I don't even find like,
Oh, that
so
you.
they're looking for something really specific. The more specific people are asking for, the longer it's gonna take. So the more open-minded people come into this program.
I know 2 ham operators that are in Los Molinos. One's kind of crazy, but one's actually someone you can actually deal with maybe, or.
Well, that's good.
Have like a portal that people can like enter contact information to apply to be in your database?
Yeah, they have to go through the whole onboarding process.
Right.
But it does start with an application that they find on our website.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is where I'm wondering if being a member at least of the Chico Chamber, one of them might be.
Yeah.
For you to, and maybe that new person can actually represent Home and Heart at some of their
yes.
events that they do, just to network with other people, and in turn, you could have something, even if it's your 30th anniversary, maybe,
Yeah. Back in 2018, I was presenting at the Campfire Collaborative meeting.
Uh-huh.
And just in the chaos of leaving that meeting and being the presenter, so you have everyone coming, somebody from Commerce had told me, wanted me to connect with them. And that's a
Okay.
connection that slipped through my fingers after all the years. So thanks for bringing it back.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because it's hard to afford all of the chambers, but I mean, they do give nonprofits a little bit.
Oh,
of our members.
they have a rate to pay for it.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think it's still $250 for Chico anyway.
Yeah.
For non.
And that's
For the whole year, which is
so worth the investment, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for $250, you're gonna get a lot more
And you
publicity.
need to show up. I mean, you need to show up, but I mean, even just to get out your event that's coming up.
Right.
You can
But-
send me, we use it. I mean, obviously I worked there for 12 years, so I'm well-rounded in that area, but
But the outreach coordinator, that would be a perfect place for them.
yeah, to start going to things. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in their blood.
Yeah.
As they jump in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a thought. All right, any more questions?
Yeah, I just re-add that if even just going to handle the communications program, if you leave a flyer about internships, whether it be a summer internship or
Yeah.
spring, you will get, like, they all have to have one. So-
Okay, so they have to have one even in the summer. So like basically every semester, there's people that do this.
It doesn't have to be in the summer, but I mean,
It could be, though.
it's a lot easier to do it in the summer, so. It's just because the semester is winding down, doesn't mean it's over. Yeah, like
Right.
we're still looking
Oh, yeah, still be looking until
to,
days.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah, I mean,
It's their last ditch effort to get it done.
Yeah.
yeah, there are people I know right now who still need to find one, but I mean, you'll find juniors, sophomores who would do anything to get one.
What a
This
fun,
is
what a
so
great
perfect.
opportunity for
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
To help with something like
Yeah,
that.
and one nice thing about this program is a lot of housing programs in the county can be controversial between two political groups, and ours is not.
Yeah.
Everybody loves home sharing, which is really nice for outreach because we don't get a lot of backlash like the tour shelter might. Once in a while at the farmer's market, someone will come and yell at us like, why are you putting homeless people with old people? It's like.
There's always
Read
something.
the site.
Yeah, right. It's just feel like I have the information. Yeah. Do you connect with the city?
Yeah, we're funded by the
Especially when they have
city.
the task force, right? They have the.
Yeah, we're connected to the city, primarily Marie Demers, Mary Jo.
Okay.
Yeah, really, thank you guys, like, what a wonderful group to present.
Yeah, we love having you.
Have you heard about those accessory dwelling units?
Oh, yeah, ADUs.
Yeah, have any, I guess you talk, if they're doing a 3-bedroom house outside next door, that's a big.
Sounds like a
that's a
big
big-
ADU.
Yeah.
We have smaller ADUs we're working
Yeah.
with, so yeah, like mother-in-law cottages in the back that they'll rent out, so they're not in two different spaces
Right.
and a home share.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's ideal.
Yeah, that is ideal, because then you get your own space.
Mhm,
still.
mhm.
All right.
Even brochures and like gyms, things like that.
Yeah, that's so funny. Like, that's what the person that was interviewing for the job, that was her idea in the interview. She's like, oh, I'm gonna put the flyers in the gym. Like, that's actually a great idea.
Bunch of programs, weekly programs. I'm sure that's a lot of the only things.
Yeah, the silver sneakers on the.
So yeah, the summer sneakers.
Swimming in the pool, I didn't know if in.
I know my grandma went to the Curves gym. I just, until she died.
Didn't they, do they still have that?
It was a while ago. Yeah.
I'm sure Chico
Right.
Sports Club would
Is
be
there?
good.
The lady's on the, I think she's on the board now.
All right, well, let's give Sierra a round of applause. Thank you so much, Sierra.
Thank you for having me.
Again, my name is Nicholas Samper. I have been your host and organizer today. I would also like to thank Eva Shepherd for hosting this event for us as well. Secondly, I would love to thank our sponsors, Morgan Stanley, Chico Start, Growth Tech, Global Entrepreneurship Network, T-Bar, Build.com, Startup Grind, Explore Butte County, and of course, without further ado, Stovall Coffee.
Yay.
All right, so here are the events we have upcoming. More specifically, our next 1 million cups presentation will be on April 12th. It will be Appreciated Asset with our presenter Jennifer Fry. And then April 18th and 19th, Chico Start is hosting the 2023 Strategy and Innovation Workshop Series here at Stovall Workplace. All right, as always, I'd like to thank our audience for joining today's meeting. And lastly, I would like to leave everyone off on this note. It doesn't matter how many times you fail, you only have to be right once. That's Mark Cuban from Shark Tank. All right, and there we have it.
You want to be right more this one. Well done.